in the current scenario, where we do not indulge in the Varna profession from which Varna we are coming in, and where I don't see any V1 group has any interest in learning Vedas, should that be open to learning Vedas? Should it be opening to everybody who's interested, or it should be only hereditary? Okay. And also extending this question to intercaste marriage, where we talk about Pitru Devatas and their alignment, everything. This is my question. I'm a person who completely believe that we need to withhold Vedas. And we have to uphold Gayatri mantra that protects the Vedas.
Understood.
Yes. Yeah. This is my question, sir.
So the interesting part is, at least since the explosion of the internet and information on the internet, I haven't seen anybody stopping anybody from learning the Vedas. And still it so happens that only a particular group seems to be showing interest in learning the Vedas, without any social incentive, economic incentive. In fact, there is a greater social disincentive to learning the Vedas openly. Right? So this false narrative needs to be busted. There are certain people sitting on Twitter who call themselves coming from the Hindu right and who subscribe to these kind of false notions. Effectively, on these topics, they are no different from the left and the Marxists. Both of them say the very same thing. Conveniently, each of them has their own justifications for coming after the Brahmin. I would say at least I will respect the leftist in that particular sense, because I know he's an open enemy. These are people sitting inside within the camp and still constantly bash Brahmins. These are the people who must be gone after first. I'm saying this bluntly, whoever they may be. Second, one of the things about our way of life is, assume for a moment that V2, V3 and V4 were to start the pursuit of the Veda. Are you really telling me that the Brahmin today has the political muscle or other muscle to stop them from doing so? No, they don't. At least hereditary Brahmins don't. Vaidika Brahmins are a micro minority. They don't, right? The argument to be made when it comes to this, and this is exactly what is different from us, let's say between us and others, is that we say, you disagree with a particular system. Don't change that institution, you set up a parallel universe. Okay? Arya Samaj, for all practical purposes, says, does and believes a lot of things which, let's say, Vaidika Brahmins may or may not agree with. I'm not passing a value judgment, I'm giving a statement of fact. Right? Now, what do you ultimately leave it to? If you're able to find traction, and if you can convince people that you're the right way, go ahead, do it. You don't change me, you don't change my institution. So someone wants to do this, I'd say go set up temples, which are non-agamic in that particular sense. But those temples which are based on Shastras and Agamas cannot be interfered with, because you cannot interfere with the Agama under any circumstances. I will not stop the construction of non-agamic institutions and temples, because there are Arya Samaj mandirs which do not subscribe to Agamas. You come to Punjab, you come to Delhi, there are, in fact, most weddings are Arya Samaji weddings, for God's sakes. Abhishek Bachchan married Aishwarya Rai in an Arya Samaji wedding. I wasn't invited, I know. But I'm telling you this. Now, who is stopping them? Do you know that these days, Arya Samaji weddings are being officiated by female priestesses wearing the Janevu? Is anybody going after them and stopping them? Nobody is doing that. Because as I said, Sharia demands compliance. We basically say, this is what I recommend. You want to do. If you don't, ni karma ante. Right? If there is meant to be a consequence for what you have done, it will have. I am nobody to interfere with it. I am only saying, don't bring your reformist nonsense into my institution and ask me to divorce my allegiance to the Agama. That's all I am asking for. Right? Now, frankly, after having interacted with the Vaidika community in several parts of the country, I am not hopeless. I have nothing but admiration for the circumstances and the conditions that they work in. Unbelievable. Someone I know very closely 2 generations ago, where in secular professions, under the guidance and instructions of Mahaparivar Sri Chandrasekhara Saraswati, they gave up the secular professions altogether. And they said all of us will pursue the pursuit of Veda. We will run a Goshala. We will educate ourselves in this so-called modern English education through open universities, so that the better part of our time is spent in mastering the Vedas. And I said this on a podcast recently. 8-year-old was teaching a 10-year-old, a 10-year-old was teaching a 13-year-old, a 13-year-old was being taught by a 15-year-old. This is how the hierarchy works there. And you know what they do? Despite the meager income that they make, they know that they'll need at least one person to carry this tradition forward. And therefore, they actually have a better TFR than educated Hindus, or let's say secularized English educated Hindus. Because it is under their compulsion and their commitment to keeping the tradition alive that they say we need at least 2 or at least 3, and we need to make sure that this goes forward under any circumstances. This is how they operate. And families of 10 and 12 survive on a regular income of 1 person. This cunning evil snake can pursue greener pastures in California. Why is he here? Which of these V2, V3 and V4 are coming and saying, we will support you, go ahead, do this? Why? Even the anglicized Mylapore based V1, who is helping them? They are doing it on their own. Because they are living out the Gita in action. This is what I am expected to do, I will do, independent of success or failure, period.